On May 16th, 2019, we made a video called ProJared, the story you never knew. For personal reasons, it was a difficult video to make, but it was mostly well received. On May 17th, 2019, at 9:22 p.m. Eastern, I got a headache. Cause Jared Knobbenbauer tweeted again, sparking yet another doo-doo storm. Did Jared see our video and decide to make it outdated? Maybe. Regardless of self-aggrandizing, the story you never knew continues, and unfortunately, it will probably continue as well. Let's begin. Even though community rage has died down, many people asked us for an update to our first video. It's something we do with a heavy heart, but we promise to uphold the integrity of said first video with this one as well. If you haven't seen ProJared, the story you never knew, it's here for you. I recommend you watch it to get the whole story up until this point. Because this controversy happened on Twitter, the information is fragmented. Our goal with this video is to get everything we know chronologically and finally put as much of this debacle to bed as we can and refocus the conversation on what's truly important by the end. Here we go. May 17th, 2019, 9:22 p.m. Eastern Time. After a week of silence and the most epic roastings of all time, Jared spoke out. Let's look at his response. Wow, that's a lot of Heidi's in there. So here's the gist. And again, feel free to pause and look these over. Jared blames Heidi for the unwanted photos, trying to solve their marital issues with polyamory, continuing her polyamorous relationships despite not being cool with Jared and Holly being together, even though she encouraged their relationship and any other ones. He said she called him a cheater despite this and refused to let him leave their broken marriage. He also inferred he wasn't the abuser in this situation. At the same time, Jared apologized to people who saw the pictures and drama. He apologized to the people he disappointed. Thanks, Jared. He explained how much money and time he spent trying to make things better for Heidi, and how good he's been to her in the divorce financially, and that his friends and people who witnessed Heidi's awful behavior encouraged him to leave her, and that he's chosen to take the high road by not posting anything that shows his side of the story because he, quote, didn't want to further stoke the fires of what should be a private matter. Well, that got weird. Let's not forget that the whole reason this is a public affair, pun intended, is because of Jared's initial statement, in which he made the divorce public and prompted the floodgates to open, and poked the big red angry bear that is Heidi O'Farrell. Also note that there isn't a single mention of the big legal and social issue here, the accusations of explicit interactions and photo swapping with minors. While the affair is juicy gossip, that's really all it is. People cheat. Is it okay? No! Is it morally gray? Yes, always. But being a
diddler
is always a no-no. Even other criminals don't like
diddler.
Getting jailed for that is really bad. We'll get into the stuff later, but for now, there's a puzzle to piece together. But you should note that Jared beat his own personal hate record with this tweet, gathering over 11,000 fire-hot comments about how he's a clowning clown. Is it mean? Yes. Is it warranted? Perhaps. However, there's some things in this message I want to explain to you. Mostly polyamory. Polyamory is a stigmatized relationship structure because it doesn't fit with the Western norms of the heart and the hump. Many people look down upon it, viewing the practice as simply slutting around cause you too horny. However, it is an intricate and complex structure that can be practiced by people of any orientation, including those who are asexual. To put it simply, polyamory is just the practice of maintaining multiple romantic and/or
touchy
relationships simultaneously with the full knowledge and consent of all people involved. That's all it is. It may not make sense for you or to you, but the most important thing to understand and remember is that polyamory is based around trust and communication. It's basically you trusting that your partners will come to you when they need to talk about something, instead of hiding or lying about it. Deep trust. Trust I don't have personally. The trust that you or two or more people can all be in love, or some degree of it, separately or together, and no one will be left for another. I can't imagine that balancing act, but I know people who do it, and they have done it for multiple decades, and it works, and works well. It takes communication and faith in each other to be honest and open. A lot of it. Which is why polyamory is not a monogamous marriage fix, which it is often used as, and unfortunately blamed for when the marriage eventually fails. That's just asking for trouble. However, due to this integral trust and communication aspect, you can cheat in a poly relationship, and if Heidi and Jared agreed that Holly wouldn't be a part of their relationship, it should have been respected by Jared and Holly. If Jared and Holly continued to engage in a romantic and/or touchy relationship after Heidi had withdrawn her consent from it, and did so without telling her, that is cheating. Whether you're polyamorous or otherwise. Whether or not Heidi continued her poly relationships was up to Jared's feelings and their communication about them. And he hasn't said squat about that. Maybe there's a reason. I don't know. For someone practicing poly, Jared's message shows a blatant disregard for the already stigmatized practice. He used a confusing relationship structure people are ignorant of simply to paint Heidi in a bad light for continuing adults, and to the public knowledge, consenting relationships. This doesn't make Heidi a cheat. Speaking of which, let's get her side. Heidi replied a lot that day. 44 times actually, starting at 6:33 p.m. Eastern after she was alerted to Jared's new statement. Also, on this day, we learned Keemstar is unable to sift through 44 tweets to get a clear picture. He should probably quit or get an Adderall prescription. Actually, scratch that. I don't want to see that guy on uppers. Heidi states clearly that Jared did not act with her approval at all. After 2017, she demanded explicit interactions with fans were to stop. She stated she felt it was unacceptable. She accused Holly Conrad of admitting that she only had feelings for Jared in early 2018, while Holly was still married to Ross. This is why Heidi refused Jared and Holly's relationship, and why her and Jared's marriage failed. According to her, Jared and Holly continued their affair in secret from that point on, breaking all the trust and communication integral to a poly relationship. Again, even in a polyamorous relationship where seeing other people is okay, if you aren't being honest with your partner about who you're dating or sleeping with, you're cheating. She says that she called off Polly after he proved he couldn't be transparent with her. Heidi pointed out that in Jared's response, he blamed her for everything, and he did. The response could also stand as a great example of everything Heidi had been accusing him of since the beginning: gaslighting and playing the victim publicly. She also addressed the financial aspect of Jared's new statement, explaining that he had monetary control over her for years and encouraged her dependence on him, and now was using that to make himself look like the good guy. She also mentioned for the record that she had been with him since before there was ever any YouTube money. When they met, he was on unemployment. Heidi also mentions how Jared outed Holly's involvement in the situation in this response, when Holly had tried to act as if she had nothing to do with it in her initial tweets before her absence. Heidi said she was banking on Holly turning on Jared and hoping they would both try to out-victimize each other in public. That didn't happen. On May 20th, 2019, at exactly 6 p.m. Eastern, optimal time for a tweet, Holly Conrad stepped back into Twitter and unprivated her account with the sole purpose of telling her side of the story. She prefaced her response to the situation by asking people not to bully Jared or Heidi, and instead asked her audience to spread healing instead of hate. Her next tweet explained her absence. She stated that on May 9th, she checked herself into a mental hospital because she was having thoughts of hurting herself. She's not ashamed of this fact, nor should she be. And if you ever have similar thoughts, we hope you'll do the same. Mental health is real, regardless of the situation or public perception. Take care of yourselves. Anyway, after throwing some deserved shade at Keemstar, she denounced Jared showing his danger to his fans, saying it was an abuse of power and that Jared made, quote, poor decisions. She then stated that she had seen, quote, relevant receipts that prove Jared confirmed the ages of the individuals he interacted with. She said these accusations have legal ramifications for everyone involved and no one can comment on them or share them publicly. We haven't seen any proof of these receipts one way or another, but it would be impressive if her or Jared had proof of ages for every person he interacted with across his various social profiles. Either way, certainly what this tweet implies is a defense of Jared. She then accuses Jared's alleged victims of being purveyors of
revenge porn.
Yes, posting uncensored
Ludus.
without consent is
Revenge porn.
But accusing the victims of wrongdoing during this time takes away from the true issue and is definitely an example of victim blaming. Sending out a broadcast to all your fans on Tumblr to send
spicy pics
is a little much, isn't it? An adult in the US is anyone over the age of 18. Is it wrong to go super duper out of your way to get a pic of someone's
birthday suit
by using your fame and power if someone is 18? Are you no longer a victim of manipulation if you're an adult and therefore ineligible to tell your story to the public if you're 18? These are real questions, not rhetorical ones. Celebrities getting explicit with adult fans can be a gray area, and the way this was gone about tended towards the dark side. Her tweets continue. Holly confirms that in early 2018, Heidi asked Jared to explore his feelings for Holly, and that Heidi was, quote, enjoying the advantages of an open relationship, because she supposedly had another boyfriend. That's a weird way to say because Heidi and Jared were poly. Regardless, Holly continues to explain that she didn't know Jared had feelings for her or that she had feelings for him until February 7th, 2018, when they went on a walk together prompted by Heidi. The point was for Jared to explore his feelings for Holly, who claims that was all that happened. This was a late-night walk. Heidi's text receipts from that event were all after 2 a.m. The text shown here shows Heidi consenting to the engagement, even encouraging further action. This is where people get confused, so let me clear it up. As both sides of the story confirm, Heidi and Jared were in a polyamorous relationship. A relationship where feelings for others are okay, and even encouraged to explore as long as they're mutually accepted. At this point, February 7th, 2018, Heidi was okay with Jared exploring those feelings with Holly. I hope that clears things up a bit for now. Now, there's a lot of confusion about Holly's previous relationship with Ross and whether or not she was cheating on him during this time. The answer is we don't know. They may have had an open relationship, they may not have, but Ross doesn't want to be in the spotlight of this, so we'll likely never know. I'm going to assume they did, considering how open Holly has been about it. But again, we don't know. Now, this is where things don't add up. At some point after February 7th, 2018, and before February 10th, 2018, something happened between Heidi, Holly, and Jared, which caused Heidi to get really mad, as well as revoke her blessing on romantic relations between Holly and Jared. Looking back on Heidi's previous tweets, it seems that it was divulged to Jared that Holly only had feelings for him. Where's Ross in that picture? I don't know. However, this is the only mention of the actual breaking point in the three-way relationship. Throughout Holly's Twitter response, there is a very obvious gap in history that perhaps she doesn't know herself or is covering up to save face. And that's why Heidi got mad. How does someone go from being okay enough to encourage the diddling to never wanting their significant other to speak to a coworker again, to speak to a friend again? The answer is a breach in trust, which occurred when Holly went to Jared accusing Heidi of abusing him, something Jared himself denied. This prompted Heidi to act out not only against Holly, but Jared as well. Holly states that she was confused at the time and sad that Heidi was so enraged, jealous, and vindictive, that apologizing simply would not work. At a certain point, Heidi had reached a level of abuse when Heidi called Holly simply to scream at her. I can't vouch for that, but for the record, Heidi hasn't denied it either, and even referenced it in a tweet, even coming out and saying she isn't completely innocent in all this. Heidi started to fantasize about ruining Jared's career and his and Holly's D&D show, Dice Camera Action. Holly's receipts explicitly show this. It's extortion. interaction, using leverage to threaten someone, and it's not okay. We have no idea when these texts were sent, and this one piece of evidence seems to be a single interaction. It could have been a bad day, or it could have been an ongoing thing. We don't know, but it's pretty intense. After all of this, Holly goes on to accuse Heidi of agreeing to move out of Jared's house only after illegally obtaining pictures and texts she could use as leverage against Holly and Jared, aka the evidence that Jared had been cheating, which Heidi spoke of in her first tweets back when this whole issue started. This tweet, ironically, proves the evidence is real and that the cheating had been happening, and that it had been happening with Holly. Also, for the record, Heidi claims her lawyer confirmed that the evidence was obtained legally as common property. This is where things start to fall apart. I want to make a big point here that Holly's tweets are confusing and also out of order in sequence of events, using screenshots from all over the place to prove points they can't prove. This one is simply evidence that Heidi and Jared engaged in polyamorous activity around October 2017, a time when the two were trying to fix their marriage, supposedly. But she's trying to use it as evidence that Heidi lied about being poly, which is something she omitted originally. It was a lie by omission. That's also understandable considering the stigma around polyamory. Most polyamorous people hide that fact from their work or even family. It's not surprising you might want to hide it from, say, the entire internet, because the vast majority don't get it. Holly then goes on to bring up Heidi's personal Facebook, in which few details and some events were posted earlier than Jared had posted on Twitter, one day earlier. Holly claims this was the opening shot, which is true. The fact Heidi's Facebook is private does mean the public had no knowledge of these accusations of cheating. However, keep in mind, Heidi and Jared's circle of friends and family were all made aware of the situation thanks to this post. These are the people that really matter in a person's life. It's possible Jared's silly Twitter post that started this public shitstorm was an attempt to get a leg up in the public eye, while Heidi had already done the same with friends and family. Heidi says in her Facebook post that she planned on going public, but that's her prerogative. Is it petty? That's for you to decide. But there's nothing saying she couldn't do it. Hell, Jared did it, and it's fine that he did. It's just the storm after. You could say that her personal Facebook posts were vindictive. She talked about stealing Jared's gold play button and sipping wine. Essentially, enjoying the drama is not the best look, but a gold play button is a good look, so help us get one and subscribe. As Heidi said, she's not blameless, and it's true. Gloating about wanting to steal someone's trophy is pretty damn uncool. She explained she was coping with humor. Holly's tweets continue, essentially explaining how bad of a person Heidi is. That's all she stated publicly on the matter. Naturally, people turned around and jumped on Heidi thanks to Holly's confusing narrative, which paints Heidi in a bad light. Not gonna lie, some of those texts seemed pretty damning. Heidi's response began on May 20th, 2019 at 7:17 p.m. Eastern. Remember, she is blocked by Holly. In her first tweet, she reveals a text conversation between her and Holly, which took place on February 10th, 2018. Between the 7th and the 10th, it went from okay to absolute no, to Heidi lashing out at Holly over the phone and Holly creating the narrative that Heidi has been abusing Jared since they lived in LA, something Jared himself seems to have denied in his and Holly's interaction mentioned in these texts. Holly also admits in these texts that Heidi was not the bad guy. But what happened? Well, while not specified 100%, something Holly said about only having feelings for Jared was unacceptable to Heidi. This was omitted in Holly's tweets. In the texts, Holly admits to Heidi that she was wrong and communicated wrong as well. Holly continues to explain how she had no control over her feelings. Part of Heidi and Jared's polyamorous relationship, as well as any polyamorous relationship, is transparency in communication with parties outside of their marriage. Jared showed Heidi Holly's texts, which sparked the anger and betrayal Heidi felt from 2018 until now. Showing each other's communications with people outside of their marriage was part of their boundary agreement, according to Heidi. Heidi also explained she had ended her long-distance relationship after requesting monogamy. When this was, we don't know, but we have to assume it was after late October 2018. That would make sense, as this was the time Heidi claims to have discovered Jared's old phone phone and the proof of his infidelity.
Let's go on an adventure to our favorite place.
This is the story we have in order. So again, let's unpack this. In early 2018, Heidi asked Jared to explore his feelings for Holly, which wound up happening on a late-night walk while Heidi was home. This happened on February 7th, 2018, and during this outing, Jared and Holly supposedly forgot their phones, causing Heidi to start anxiety spiraling after initial support. Between then and the 10th, Jared shows Heidi texts from Holly in which Holly opens up about her feelings for Jared. Feelings that make Heidi uncomfortable enough to call Holly up and chew her out about it. Holly then goes to Jared and accuses Heidi of abusing him, which apparently is denied by Jared himself in Heidi's text receipts. Throughout the year, Jared becomes increasingly distant to Heidi, even separating her from their mutual friends. Jared paints an image of Heidi to his friends as an abuser, something backed up by Heidi's public explosions at Jared during this stressful time. Between Heidi and Holly's texts and September of 2018, Holly's marriage ends. It's finally revealed in late October 2018 that Holly and Jared had been sleeping together. How long the affair was going is unknown, but it may have continued until after the divorce was filed and may still be ongoing. After finding out about the cheating, Heidi calls off polyamory, leaves her long-distance boyfriend, and despite attempts to fix the marriage and therapy, the divorce was set in motion. Heidi never defended her abusive texts or vengeful desires and is in therapy to try and grow from this. Nothing has been said by either party for days regarding the issue, and nothing has been said by Jared following his last statement. All the while, Jared had been interacting with fans explicitly and inappropriately. Some of them allegedly minors. A detail that has hardly been mentioned since our last video. It's also something Heidi had been unaware of since she asked it to stop in 2017. As far as the story here is concerned, you can believe who you want, because in the end, it's something that happened in a relationship that wasn't ours. Sure, it calls into question people's moral fiber, but the point we made in the last video still stands. We've gotten so many messages about redacting that video, to which I say a solid hell no, and why should we? The information in that video is still relevant and important, and now we're adding onto it with this new video now that the dust has more or less settled. What's important to remember is that this situation was stimulated and continually driven by Jared. Both of these women were manipulated and lied to, as well as his fans. Heidi and Holly clearly want to let this go, and both should be allowed to. Hopefully, both of them can wash their hands of Jared. Since the initial tweet via Jared, a subreddit opened where people came together and talked about their interactions with him online and in person. The accounts are continuing to add up and personally are impossible to ignore. Not to mention super gross. Jared has been reported to the Department of Justice, and it can be guaranteed that an investigation is ongoing. The former star has not uploaded to either of his YouTube channels since the incident, and to our knowledge has not made any public appearances anywhere at all. People are calling for his channel to be deleted. YouTube hasn't commented at all. This seems to be the end for ProJared. For now, the drama has subsided, and hopefully it stays that way. While Heidi's revenge may have been malevolent, it also brought to light some seriously disturbing aspects of a man we had complete faith in. It's important to note that this is the real issue here. The supposedly illegal actions of one man, not this back and forth of gossip. And just know that if more information does come out about what's really important, we will cover it. Until then, we kindly ask that you let us return to making the gaming content that we love, and also that you give it a watch. We're really excited about some of the new stuff we have coming up, and I know you'll love it too. So just know that if Heidi and Holly go at it again, we will not be a part of it. This video was simply to fill in the gaps that were left from the first video. That's it. That's the story of ProJared. The story you never knew. We really appreciate you staying till the end. Like I said, this is the last ProJared video we plan on making, barring extreme and actually important circumstances. But if you like ridiculous and in-depth gaming content, definitely subscribe and hit that bell and stick around. You'll like what you see. All right, Mr. Handsome or Mrs. Beautiful. Ms. Beautiful. I don't know if you're married or not. Doesn't even matter. Not up to me. Doesn't matter to me.